בשם השם נעשה ונצליח, שיעור תורה, ברוך השם.
גפן?
לא, זה עץ.
למה? אבל
ענבים זה עץ, ענבים זה עץ בגלל שזה לא, זה רק נהפך לגף מתי שזה יין. Grapes only turn into גפן if they turn into wine, if it's wine. אז בשם השם נעשה ונצליח, we have a interesting shiur, Parashat Bo. We have the continuation of the 10 plagues that were on Egypt. B'ezrat Hashem, this shiur will be for refuah shlema for David ben Nasriya, Doris bat Zora, Debbie bat Rachel, Avital bat Yochebet, ורב אפרים כחלון בן שולמית. בעזרת השם ייתן להם רפואה שלמה, ומי עוד?
מזל בת שמחה.
ומזל בת שמחה. So בעזרת השם, השם will give them and all of עם ישראל רפואה שלמה, הצלחה, פרנסה, and all the good that's in the world. So last week we had a lot of exciting things happened. Hashem is starting to beat up the nation of Egypt and putting them to shame, destroying the biggest civilization in the world. And he gave them 7 plagues out of the 10 plagues. Now the question is, why did all of this start? Who remembers? Why did all of this start? Why did the whole issue of Egypt, in the practical sense, why did it start? We heard it in the beginning of the Parashat. No Nirel.
Why the practical start?
Yeah, why did it start? Why did Egypt turn us into slaves?
Oh, because we start התבוללות, because the
But in so many words, they hated us, right?
yeah, of course.
Okay. They hated the fact.
אבל התחכמה לו פעמים.
אבל התחכמה לו, חזק וברוך שלום. So the Egyptians hated us, and 2 weeks ago in Parashat Shmot, it was the beginning of anti-Semitism. Now, unfortunately, many people today believe that anti-Semitism is not a problem. I'm here to tell you it's a bigger problem today than it's ever been. Even including most recently, which is during the Holocaust. The only difference between today and the Holocaust is that people are not as open about anti-Semitism as they were back then, and obviously Israel has an army, and we're not being killed out in the open in massive size like we did in the Holocaust. Yeah, you can use whatever you want. Yeah. So, but anti-Semitism is alive and well, and yesterday was the perfect example. If you all know, there's a wicked Rasha Merusha Yimach Shemo V'Zichro person by name of Hitler that lived some 70 years ago, that led the whole Nazi nation, the whole Germany, into destroying 6 million Jews and many millions of other non-Jews. I think the total is maybe 50 million people died. Now, Hitler, like Paro, in this week's Parashat and last week's and the week before, was a very smart and charismatic person that people attracted to. He got people to follow him. One of the ways that he got people to follow him is that he wrote a book. Now the book was very famous in those days and sold 12 million copies. And pretty much in the book, he tells the world about his craziness and how there's a chosen few, and pretty much the whole concept of what he based his rationale, his wicked and distorted rationale of why he fought and destroyed so many lives. And many people followed it. 12 million copies were sold. 12 million copies today is a lot. Imagine it 70 years ago, 80 years ago. And this put him into power, and eventually the rest is history. Now, that book is well known. It's available for free on the internet. And anyone that's a psychopath and has nothing to do with their life can get access to it. But since anti-Semitism is growing rapidly, they decided to republish his book once the copyright laws were reached their end, and they decided to republish his book. Just pretty much print it again and sell it in stores. Now you would think, after learning of 50 million deaths, no one in their right mind would ever buy this book. No one in their right mind would say, "Oh, you know what? Oh, wow, this is a good book for my collection. The guy that murdered 50 million people, yeah, I want to listen to him." Nobody would say that, right? Unfortunately, you're wrong. The book sold out all of its copies on the first day.
Mm-hmm.
Every single copy that was in the store sold out, and they have orders of 4 times the amount of what they originally printed. They're still printing more now. People are buying it like it's free. Now, somebody said to me after I posted this on my Facebook group, Torah Lessons to Help Our Lives, Baruch Hashem, we're up to about 2,500 people now. We posted it, and one person said, "No, you know what, people are just interested. People are interested. Doesn't mean that they're Nazis, they're just interested. They want to see this book. It hasn't been published in 7 years. How would you pay for it?" That's exactly what I said. See, and somebody else said also, is that the reality of it is that, first of all, if you're interested in something like that, that means that you already agree with it to some extent. I will not go watch a horrible movie, a horror movie, let's say, for example, because I don't like horror movies. Whether it's free or I have to pay for it, it's irrelevant. I'm not going to do it. If I go to a horror movie, that means that I already have a predisposition that's interested in it, that wants to see it. Now, if you tell me the horror movie is free for 70 years, or I can pay for it, that means I'm more than just interested. If I go and not only pay for it, but pay a premium for it just to make sure that I buy it on the first day, that means not only am I interested in it, I agree with it. So while the nation of Israel is sleeping, the world is slowly deteriorating, and the words of Hashem and the sages in the Torah are coming to life. Everything we discussed a few weeks ago of what's going to happen at the end of times is coming slowly to life. The truth will be hated. Those that rebuke and tell people the truth will also be hated, and it will be hard to find. Anti-Semitism will increase. And just a long list of bad things. But there's one hope at the end of that Gemara in Masechet Sotah, page 49. The only thing that we can rely on is Avinu Shebashamayim. En al mi lismoch, rak al Avinu Shebashamayim. The only thing we can rely on is Avinu Shebashamayim. So now the question we're going to start off the shiur with, that you have to ask yourself every day, whether you're in tshuva, haven't started tshuva, have been in tshuva for 10 years already, it doesn't matter. It's something you have to ask yourself every week and every day. I asked you a question last week, and I hope you're asking yourself that question also. Am I going to be Paro, or am I going to be Moshe today? Every day you have to ask yourself, who am I going to be? Am I going to be Moshe, or am I going to be Paro? Everybody wants to be Moshe. But are we acting like Moshe and we do tshuva? Because Moshe did tshuva after Hashem rebuked him, because he questioned Hashem. He did tshuva. He didn't question God anymore. Paro got one slap, second slap, another slap. Well, he never did tshuva. He had to get 10 times. He never did tshuva. And even when he did a minor tshuva, it wasn't a complete tshuva. He still went and chased Am Yisrael, which we're going to learn about next week. So we Paro, we Moshe, every day. The second question is that when Hashem is telling us that the only thing you can rely on is me, only thing you can rely on is God, do do you really have the right to rely on him? Why should you rely on him?
He tells you so.
He tells you to rely on him, but he also tells you to keep Shabbat. You don't do that. He tells you to do tefillin. You don't do that.
You do that.
Now you chas v'shalom. Saying we don't do that. Tells you eat kosher. No, we eat chazir. Tells you that you can't look at women that's not your wife. We watch movies of that. So what? When it's good for us, we do it. When it's not good for us, we don't do it. So that's the question. The question is, you can rely as much as you want, but is Hashem really going to be there when your every day is consumed with sins? When every day you're going against Him, you can rely, say, no, I believe, אני דתי בלב, I believe. דתי לפי דעתי, religious based on my own opinion. But, okay, so you can rely as much as you want, but in the reality of it is that if your actions on a daily basis are a live session of Chilul Hashem, then unfortunately that reliability is not going to work out. It's only logic. So in the beginning of this parasha, Hashem wants to remind us of something, especially those of us that are relying on Him. Whether we're right or wrong is irrelevant. ויאמר אדוני אל משה, בוא אל פרעה, כי אני הכבדתי את ליבו ואת לב עבדיו למען שתי אותותיי אלה בקרבו. Hashem said to Moses, come to Pharaoh, for I have made his heart and the heart of his servants stubborn, so that I can put these signs of mine in the midst. So interestingly, the parasha is called Bo. Usually the parasha is called with one of the words within the first sentence. Bo means come. Come here. But if I'm telling you to go somewhere, I tell you, Tomer, go to the store for me, please. Do me a favor. Am I going to tell you, come to the store? I tell you, go to the store. Right? Mm-hmm. Why? Because I'm not there. So go to the store. I need you to get shawarma for the guys. And Tomer actually does it, Baruch Hashem. Tzaddik. But if I say come to the store, what does it mean?
You're there.
It means I'm there. This is what Hashem is telling us. He's telling Moshe, Bo el Paro, come to Paro because I'm already there. I'm where you are right now, but I'm also over there. I'm everywhere. Hashem is everywhere. This is something that if we really, really think about, can be a very, very useful tool to get to our goal, which is to develop Yirat Shamayim, fear of Hashem. Why are people not scared of Hashem? Because they don't think He's there. They don't think He's there. He's in the Shamayim, He's hanging out with the... even if somebody believes in Him. Even if someone says, no, I believe in Hashem. When I have a problem, I pray to Him. Okay, but what about when you have, casino session? Why don't you think about God then? No, God's busy with the tzaddikim. He's busy with the tzaddikim. He's not busy. He doesn't care about me going to the casino playing Texas Hold'em. He doesn't care.
Today, play Texas Hold'em is bad. One in NY.
Not allowed to gamble. Gambling is considered, you win gambling, you consider that you stole. Gezer.
Even to go?
Even to go to a casino?
To go in.
To win from a goy.
To win from a goy?
From anyone. Not allowed. Not allowed to gamble. Not allowed to gamble. Gambling is considered, if you win, it's considered that you stole.
And if you lost?
You lost, you disrespected the money that Hashem gave you. It's also foolish. You can only lose with gambling. But anyway, trust me, I know. I used to play Texas Hold'em at the highest level. Before I did Tshuva, I played in the World Series of Poker, and I played all these things. It's all stuyot, it's all garbage, and it's all neged Hashem. Hashem yirachem alai of all the avirot that I did. Not proud of it in any way, but I could tell you that I was a big player in the poker, so no one had a bigger Yetzirah than me for that game.
Just curious, which number you want
Go check, put my name online, you'll see a few. Put my name online, you'll see a few. Doesn't matter, it means nothing. All of it's all garbage. I can tell you, you see some of the previous shiurim, millions of dollars wasn't the question. The question was the purpose of life. And with all the millions and everything that I had, it was worthless. I can tell you that all the millions are not even worth 1 hour of today of learning Torah. 1 hour of today learning Torah. All the millions that I ever had. All of them. 1 hour of Torah. Why? Obviously, when I'm telling you this, sounds like I'm crazy, or maybe I lost my mind, or maybe I'm some big tzaddik. I'm not. I'm telling you that when you actually identify what the Torah is versus that world, saying that all the millions are not worth an hour is an understatement. It's worth the hours of Torah is worth even more. But it takes time to get there, B'ezrat Hashem. You'll see it over time. And hopefully much faster than I did. Don't waste as much time as I did. But nonetheless, Hashem is telling us, I am everywhere. He's telling Moshe, I am everywhere. And not only am I everywhere, so you have to think about me all the time. Before you go with that girl you're not married to, you got to think about me. Before you turn on the light on Shabbat, think about me. I'm there, I'm watching you. Before you eat the little fruit without a bracha, I'm watching you. I'm watching everything. I'm there. Bo, it means not only am I watching, I'm there before you. I'm already there before you got there. I already know what you're going to do, and I'm there. You want to go to the bad place? I'm there. Chadre chadarim. I'm there even when you're with your wife. I'm there. Even the laws of how to be with your wife have a certain way of doing it. You can't act like an animal. B'ezrat Hashem will get there one day. And I'll explain to you guys what you need to do. All of us. But be'emet, even b'chadrei chadarim, even the way you speak to your wife, you act with your wife intimately, has to have a certain way. I'm there, he says. Even the shtuyot that you talk to your friends, talk about baseball, football, all the nonsense bitul Torah that we do every day for hours and hours, Hashem says, I'm there, I'm watching it. If you knew I was there, would you do it?
Probably no.
Probably not. So what's the problem? We don't believe he's there. That's the problem. So to get to Yirat Shamayim, first we have to understand what God is. At least our capacity. Once you understand what God is, you understand that he's everywhere. After that, you realize that he's already ahead of you. Meaning that the next place you're going to be in, he's already there. And that's what he's telling Moshe when he's telling him, Bo, come because I'm already there. Come join me. But he's there, he's everywhere. After that, one of the things that changes about these plagues, these last 3 plagues, we already had 7 last week, is that Hashem changes his ways in the sense that he says something more than what he did in the last 7, which he says, "Uleman tesaper be'oznei bincha uben benecha et asher it'alalti b'Mitzrayim." He says, and so that you may relate in the ears of your son and your son's son that I made a mockery of Egypt. So Hashem is making a joke out of Egypt. Why? ואת אותותיי אשר שמתי בם וידעתם כי אני אדוני. He says, and my signs that I placed among them, that you may know that I am Hashem. This we talked about last week. I'm not sure if it was in this shiur or the Miami shiur that I do, about why Hashem continues to repeat the same exact thing over and over again in the last few parashot, especially last week, this week, next week, and pretty much the continuation of the Torah. He's constantly repeating his name. I am Hashem, I am Hashem, I am Hashem, I am Hashem. Okay, we got it. Why is he constantly repeating I am Hashem? Tomel, why is he repeating I am Hashem? Well, we forgot from last week. Well, Moshe forgot. Moshe is a prophet. He saw the future, saw the past. He speaks to Hashem. He speaks to Hashem every day, all day. He forgot his name. He's telling me, I'm doing this.
He's reassuring you that he is Hashem and he will get you out of Egypt.
Chazak u'baruch. So what it says is that Hashem, when Hashem is telling you, I am Hashem, He's telling you, because I'm Hashem, I'm reliable. What I say never changes. Never changes. El Melech Ne'eman. When you say Amen, Amen is an acronym. זה ראשי תיבות, El Melech Ne'eman. Amen. Means that whatever Hashem says, you can rely on it. You can take it to the bank. That's it. Never changes. It says keep Shabbat is going to be a covenant between me and you and my nation of Israel le'olam. That means to eternity, forever. He says tefillin in the end of this parasha is something you have to do le'olam. That means forever. Pesach le'olam. That means even in Gan Eden there's Pesach. It's not just a few years with the friends, maybe a little bit of a zoa here and there, a barbecue. No. He's telling you le'olam. Le'olam, he says, I'm never changing my mind. Why? I'm not human. I'm not like you. I don't change my mind. I don't have empty promises where I tell you one thing, I do something else. Le'olam. Second thing is, he says, when I say I'm Hashem, I'm also reminding you that I said there's a reward and there's a punishment. This is one of the 13 principles of faith that you are obligated to say every day, by the way. At the end of Shachrit, or at some point during the day. It's good to say that Shachrit, it's a long prayer anyway. At the end of Shachrit, you should say the 13 principles of faith. 13 foundational beliefs you have to have in order to be a Jew. If you do not believe in one of them, you're kofel. For example, someone doesn't believe in the resurrection of the dead, it's a problem. If someone wants to convert to Judaism, they ask him, do you believe in resurrection of the dead? He says no. It's a problem. Somebody says, I don't believe there's one God. You can't convert them. I think there's three, like the Christian fools. Christians think there's three. It's three parts. They do. It says it in their book. Can't be Jewish. It's idol worship. Someone doesn't believe Torah was given to Moshe Rabbeinu. Can't convert him. Someone doesn't believe there's reward and punishment. Can't convert him. Obviously, for a Jew too, it's a serious problem. Hashem is telling us, I'm reminding you that I am Hashem because I said there's a reward and punishment. If you do what I said, you have bracha, you have reward. If you don't do, there's no such thing as you don't get the reward. As we'll learn in a few months, Parashat Kitavo, Bechukotai, and several others, bracha veklala, the blessing and the curse. There's no in between. You do it, you get a bracha, you get a blessing. You don't do it, you get punishment. Klala, it's curse. It's not. If I don't do it, if I don't go to do tefillin, Hashem says, okay, so you don't get the mitzvah for tefillin. All right, you missed out. No, it's a problem. Oh, if I don't keep Shabbat, I don't feel like keeping Shabbat. No, I don't feel like keeping Shabbat. So I don't get the mitzvah for Shabbat. So my account will have a deficit. No. That's not the case. Hashem says it's reward and punishment. When I say I am Hashem and I'm constantly reminding you, it's because I want you to know before you take any action, before you make any move, Ani Hashem. And he's repeating it over and over throughout the Torah. We had a whole shiur about it last week in Miami. I think that a lot of new things that we didn't cover here. You should watch it if you haven't watched it. And he's again repeating it again here. But aside from that, he's saying that I'm making a mockery of Egypt. He's making a joke out of them. Why? Because he's Hashem. What does one thing have to do with the other? The idol worship in Egypt was bigger than anything we can imagine. Hashem brought 10 levels of tum'ah, of impurity to the world. 10 levels of tum'ah to the world. 9 of them he gave to the Egyptians. And that's why they had powers. They were able to turn, do all this magic. Turn sticks into snakes. the idols they had moved and spoke. As a protection, we're going to learn later on, if any Jew tried running away, the idols would actually Chazal says the idols would move and start screaming. It was like an alarm system. Without the electronics, man. They didn't need you back then. You would have been broke.
Yeah.
You would have had to find a new job.
Build the statues.
Statues moving. Jews running. Eh? Tumah. So he says, there all this idol worship, it's a to'avat Hashem. It's disgusting to me, Hashem is saying. That's why I'm going to make a joke out of them. The biggest civilization in the world. Everybody thinks America is big. Or China is big. You know, powerful. America is powerful. Army, Navy, ta-ta-ta-ta-ta. China has 2 billion people, 1.5 billion people, whatever it is. Wow, powerful. Egypt is bigger than both of them, at the time, ancient Egypt, bigger than both of them combined. They had complete control. And Hashem turned them to nothing. Complete nothing. To make sure that it's remembered forever. Not only by the Jews, but by all the nations. And that's why anyone that believes in monotheism, believes in one God, has to believe in the story of the Exodus, Yetziat Mitzrayim. Christians, even though they believe they have a new book and all that other garbage, they still believe in the Torah, which they call the Old Testament. They still believe that we came out of Egypt, Hashem took us out of Egypt with all of the miracles, the 10 plagues, we went to Mount Sinai, millions of people saw the words of God. They believe in it. Same thing Islam. Even though they're trying to kill us every single day, the Rashaim that they are. In their own Quran, they say if there's any doubts about the Quran, go to the Jews, their Torah is more reliable. In their own Quran. In their own Quran it says that our book is more reliable. But what, they're still trying to kill us. Explain that to me.
They never read the Quran.
They probably never read the Quran. But they say they did. Allahu Akbar, but they didn't even read their own Quran. But even there it says that Yetziat Mitzrayim happened, the Exodus happened. The Goyim believe it. The problem is the Jews don't believe it. That's the problem. The problem is not with the Goyim. The problem is with the Jews. Our nation is still sleeping while anti-Semitism increases. And I'm afraid of what happens next. Because when Jacob first came down to Egypt with 70 people, everyone was righteous. Everyone was doing exactly what they need to do. Little by little, the material world took over. Instead of just staying in Goshen, the city that Joseph, who was a viceroy at the time, a king at the time, under Paro, made sure to give to them. He gave them Goshen. Stay there. But at the end of the parasha, it says they started buying land in other places. Started bolelut, assimilation. Started going to different places. Well, 210 years later, the nation of Israel is in the 49th level of Tum'ah. We are in one before the worst possible level, the 50th level. And if we get to the 50th level, Chazal says there's no recovery, there's no tshuva, there's nothing. The world has to be destroyed. We're 49 levels. 210 years. Not 210 years of slavery. A lot of people think that we were slaves for 210 years or 400 years. We weren't slaves for 400 years. We were in Egypt for 210 years. The hard slavery was 86 years. 2 generations. 3 generations.
The total time we were in Egypt was 210 years?
210 years.
I thought it was 430.
400 years is what was the original decree. In this week's parasha, that's what Hashem said to Avraham. He said that your descendants will be in Egypt, will be slaves for 400 years. In this week's parasha, at the end of the parasha, when it says that we're leaving Egypt, it says they left Egypt after 430 years. So where's 400, where's 430, where's my 210 coming from? And nonetheless, they're 86. Right? That's what you're asking. Okay, 400 is what Hashem said. 430 is what this parasha is saying, which the 430 started counting not from when we got to Egypt, but from when Hashem told this prophecy to Avraham. The 400 started at the time of Akedat Yitzchak. So technically, from Akedat Yitzchak to the end of when we left Egypt is 400 years. Exactly 400 years we left. Akedat Yitzchak was on the birth of Yitzchak was on the 15th of Nisan. We left Egypt on the 15th of Nisan. The 210 is what we ended up actually being there. And out of the 210, we weren't slaves for 210. Why? Because Yosef was a king. He was a king for a long time. And it wasn't right after he died they turned into a slave. No. The entire generation died also. His brothers who lived longer than him also died. And their kids, the whole generation that came to Egypt, those 70 people, after everyone died, except one person, which is Serach bat Asher, Serach the daughter of Asher. It's the only one that didn't die. But after all of that, that's when we became slave, where it says, and Paro did not know Joseph. From that moment on, that's when we became slaves, where he said, we're gonna fool them into becoming, we're gonna fool them, turn them into our slaves. And that was when Miriam was born. Moshe's and Aaron's older sister. Moshe at this time of the Exodus is 80 years old. Aaron is 83 years old, and Miriam is 86 years old. She's the one that followed Moshe when he was in the Teva. Mm-hmm. She was 6 years old, little girl.
Moshe returned to Egypt when he was
80 years old. 80 years old.
So he was actually born almost in the beginning of slavery.
Even better, his sister Miriam was born at the beginning of slavery. And that's why her name is Miriam. Mar. Mar means a bitter.
So to understand this, Miriam was born. Her parents separated.
No, the slavery started, but the killing of the kids, of the boys, happened right after Aaron was born.
So it's, a few
Aaron was the last child born before they started killing the boys. He just made it. 3 years later, Moshe is born.
No, but there was a time where they separated.
Right after Aaron.
They separated and they got back to...
Right after Aaron, right before Moshe was born. So 3 year difference, right before Moshe was born.
6 years period around?
6 year period of slavery already by the time Moshe is born.
Wow, so I thought it was... So how is it that... okay, I guess. Seems like it was much longer.
86 years of torture, trust me. It's
no, it's a lot, but at that time it was 6, it was born, and he was the Redeemer. It was only 6 years of slavery.
Yeah, but he was a baby. It wasn't a 6-year-old.
Right.
He was just born. He wasn't giving the commands to the people. He was just born. He was a baby. It's like, you're a little baby, you're a little Cohen. Baby. Can't call the shots yet. Even though he tells us when to sleep, when to wake up, still. So, knowing the Midrashim and knowing exactly the time is important sometimes because it can get confusing. Sometimes you read a verse incorrectly, you think that things, happened, didn't happen. So Hashem says, To'avat Hashem. To'avat Hashem is disgusting. Disgusting to Hashem is this idol worship, and that's why He's going to mock and embarrass the whole nation of Egypt, all the nation of ancient Egypt. There's a few other things in the Torah that Hashem says is a To'avah, is disgusting to Him, other than idol worship. One of them that always needs to be mentioned because people need to know this, even though it's not politically correct in today's disgusting world, is homosexuality. Homosexuality is considered To'avat Hashem. Hashem is disgusted by it. So yes, you could be a very nice person, your friends could be nice people, and all that good stuff, and you could be smart and funny, and even like the Torah. But homosexuality is not allowed by any stretch of the imagination. In Judaism, it's disgusting to Hashem. It's disgusting to the Creator.
How you can explain? I read and I saw in the television that Jewish people that learn on the yeshiva and everything, that it's not one, two, it's big group that homosexual guy, Jewish, studying the yeshiva, but this is what they feel. How you can explain this, like, why God create them like that?
Every person.
They believe like me, like you.
Yeah,
and
they believe
do
in a
everything,
Torah. They believe in a Torah, but they're making a sin that's disgusting to Hashem. Okay, the same Yetzer Hara. This is a good question, and I'm glad you asked it because that's what people always ask, and that's actually I was hoping for this question because it's important to know the whole issue of nisayon, the whole issue of a trial in life, and the purpose of life. The purpose in life is not just to be a robot. Do mitzvot, do tefillin, keep kosher, be like a little robot. If Hashem wanted a robot, He would not create it. He would just leave the angels and that's it. The whole purpose of life is to overcome our bad midot, our bad nature, and overcome the Yetzer Hara. If we cannot overcome the Yetzer Hara, there's no purpose for the Torah, there's no purpose for the world, there's no purpose for us. So Hashem is going to give you tests. Each one of these tests, He knows you can pass. Each one of these tests is harder than the next one. Each one gets harder and harder. The more tests you pass, the more difficult the tests get. How do we compare it to, you'd say, no, that's too much. No, I can't do it. No. This is the nature of life. Someone starts in first grade. They're not going to give you a calculus math test in first grade. Unless you're a Nirel and you're a genius, you're not going to get a calculus test in first grade. You're going to get, 1 plus 1, 2. You got 100 on the test. No, he put 3. Okay, let's just give him 100 just to build up his confidence. That's in today's world. Give you 100 anyway. That's why so many people come out stupid. Because they think 1 plus 1 equals 3. Because the teacher wants to put doesn't want them to feel bad about themselves and hurt their self-esteem. But anyway, second grade, it's not 1 plus 1. It's 5 times 5. Excuse me. Third grade, you get to 312 divided by 13. Fourth grade, fifth grade, each grade gets harder. Why are they giving you harder? Why are they torturing you? No, in order to build yourself, it has to get harder. If someone wants to become very muscular and very fit, they can't just pick up 5 pounds every day for the rest of their life. Go from 5, eventually after you get stronger, you pick up 10 pounds, 20 pounds, 30 pounds, I don't know, after a year or two, you pick up a few houses. You have to get stronger. That's how you get stronger, by things getting harder. Same thing in business. You start in the mail room just delivering mail. Nobody knows who you are. You want to become CEO? Okay, it's going to take you 25 years of very, very hard work. You have to go from the mail room. Then you have to be an assistant. Then you have to be, one of the salesmen. Then a supervisor. And eventually you can become CEO. But you can't just go from the mailroom to CEO. It doesn't work that way. Why? Because even if they put the mailman as CEO, he wouldn't know what to do. Why? Because he needs the difficult experiences that he overcame in order to be the CEO. There's plenty of rich CEOs that just start companies and don't have a clue. Abba gave them money. Their father gave them a bunch of money. Father has $100, $200, $300 million. He gave this 25-year-old fool $25 million to play with. And the 25-year-old doesn't even know what 1 plus 1 is because his teacher made sure. He knew that Abba is a multi-millionaire, so he made sure that when he said 1 plus 1 equals 17, he said, no. There's a way to get to that. I don't want to hurt his confidence. So he gave him the right answer. So the kid doesn't know anything from his life, but he still became a CEO. Why? Because Abba gave him some money. But that company will fail. It's only a matter of time as he feeds the monster, which is a business term where you keep putting more money, more good money into a bad investment. You're feeding the monster. The monster never gets full. So eventually what happens? You run out of money. And the business goes down. But instead of failing to recognize the problem, you lose a lot more money than you need to. Now, going back to the issue at hand, there are some people that are born with a predisposition, a feeling towards the same sex. They believe that, or they feel attraction to the same sex. This is again another nisayon. It's another test from Hashem. Why is it a test? Why? How could it be a test? I feel it. I want to be with this guy, but somebody wants to be with another guy. But how could it be? It's a test. How do you overcome a test? Same way that you overcome every test. You know that you have chazir and you have kosher shualma. It's your choice to eat chazir or eat kosher shualma. You don't have to take advantage of every desire you have. Okay, you have a desire to be with the same sex. You don't have to do it. Nobody's forcing you to do it. So of course it's a test. So, yes, the person is welcome in the yeshiva and they're trying to help him do tshuva and keep mitzvot, and because they know that if you tell the guy, listen, you can't do tshuva without stopping your desires, he's not going to do it. And they also know that he can't stop his desires without doing tshuva first. Because he has to get to a point of understanding the difference between right and wrong, the cost of right and wrong, the benefit of right, the cost of the wrong. And little by little, as he develops more and more Yirat Shamayim, and he has more and more Kedusha in his life, if he learns Torah every day like a serious person, he's not going to have the same level of desires. I can't tell you that he's not going to have it at all. It's his Yetzer Hara. I can't tell him, I can't know what somebody else's Yetzer Hara is. But the more Kedusha you add to your life, the less Tumah you have. So one day, you had an attraction to playing Texas Hold'em with $100,000 on the table. After you do tshuva, a few years, you learn Torah every day, eventually the whole concept disgusts you. You're the same person, but it's the same person, same body and flesh, but the soul had a few modifications. So if you could have a car, you both, one is a Honda, the other one's a Honda. One is a Honda you bought from the car lot, you left everything. The other one is fully loaded with $100,000 worth of additions. So obviously, looks the same, maybe. But inside it's very different. Same thing with Torah. The Avdi. But the key is the Torah. Torah is going to make this person do tshuva one day. But he's born that way because that's his test, that's his tikkun. Maybe he did something in his previous life, in his last Gilgul, that gave him this tikkun. I'm not really sure. I don't know Cheshbonot of Shamayim, and I don't know Kabbalah, but what I do know is that everyone that's given a tikkun is given it for a reason. If you're given a tikkun of having no money, that's because you have to overcome your desire for money, or you have to you have to be able to appreciate what you do have. If you have a test of having a lot of money, you have to know what to do with the money. If you have a overwhelming desire for being promiscuous, being with different women, or a woman being with different men every other day, that's a big test. You have to overcome it. If somebody comes in and they have a desire for food, they can't stop eating, they're 500 pounds and they're still eating, you have to overcome the test. Bad hygiene, they have to overcome the test. All of these things. The point is, the Torah is supposed to make you a human being, not an animal. An animal works off of instinct. Lion's hungry, he goes chases the zebra eats the zebra, nobody tells him anything. Nobody calls the lion, no, lama rak the zebra. Why'd you kill the zebra? Lefe. It's not nice. Murderer that you are. Nobody tells us to the lion. Why? Because everyone knows lion works off of instinct. But if somebody goes to Toma and slaps him in the face, they can say, no, lama, why? What? Toma is a tzaddik. Why you slap Toma in the face? Lefe. It's not nice. Masha. Why you do this? Right? Because you're not an animal. You have a choice. Just like you have a choice of whether to do right or wrong and everything else, you have a choice of whether you're going to take advantage of a situation that's a sin.
I have a question.
Yeah.
To play in the parable is also not good, even $2 for lunch, because you know that if you're going to win, you're going to do good thing with the money.
Okay.
It's a lot of
Rabbi
money.
Moshe Feinstein, Pasak, somebody told him, I'm allowed to play lotto. And Rabbi Moshe Feinstein, זכותו תגן עלינו, he said you're allowed to play up to one ticket of anything, whatever is a pruta, meaning that it's an insignificant amount of money.
Okay.
That's not going to change your life, but only one. Meaning that if the lotto ticket is $1, you're allowed to pay $1. Not allowed to pay $5 because it's $1. It's $1. That's it. One
So
ticket.
if Powerball costs
it's
$2, so
$2,
$2,
that's it.
but if you won...
No, but if there's a $10 ticket, you're not allowed to buy that. Let's say, for example, people buy those cards where it's $10,
Yeah.
you're not allowed to buy those.
No, but...
Maximum is the pruta. It's money that's completely insignificant. $1, $2.
The
is
minimum, the
The
minimum.
minimum.
דע לך $2, עכשיו את הפאוור פליי אסור לך לעשות.
מה זה פאורפליי בכלל?
פאוור פליי זה כל
תומר, אל
כל
תפריע.
הקופה.
אני אתן לך זכויות. אל תפריע. תהיה
כל
צדיק.
הקופה.
So now, Tomer always has his brain works in a different way, Shiur.
לא, בדיחותא דעלמא.
It's good, it's good, it's good. So here's another thing that people have. I hear this a lot lately. Is first Hashem tells Moshe, I'm going to, mock the Egyptians, and then you see Moshe and Aaron come to Paro, and they don't just tell him what Hashem said. Tell him a lot of other things. Says, so Hashem's God of the Hebrews, so said Hashem, the God of the Hebrews, until when you refuse to be humbled before me, send out my people and they may serve me. For if you refuse to send my people, behold, tomorrow I shall bring, a locust swarm into your border. I will cover the surface of the earth so that one will not be able to see the earth. Meaning that the locust will cover everything. You're not going to be able to see anything. And it will consume the remaining residue that was left to you by the hail, because the hail, with the fire, pretty much destroyed almost everything. So he said, whatever is left, the locusts are going to eat. You're going to have no food. There's going to be complete starvation, famine in all of Egypt. Not going to be anything, nothing. All the trees will be eaten. If you've ever seen, if you want to see, it's on YouTube. There's places around the world that they have these locust attacks. Locusts fly in huge millions and millions quantities, and when they arrive at a farm or at a town, they eat everything. They leave nothing. And it's videotaped. Today everybody's a cameraman because of the phones, so you can actually see some of these things. And you see 30 million locusts arrive, a day, 2 days, 3 days, they leave, everything is destroyed. The entire farm is destroyed. It's mamash, unbelievable. This is much worse over here, he's telling you. How do we know it's much worse? After the hail that destroyed everything, whatever was left, they're going to even eat this. And it says specifically, and it will consume all the trees that grow for you from the field. They will fill your houses, the houses of your servants, and the houses of all of Egypt, such as your fathers and your grandfathers have never seen from the day they came onto the earth until this day. And later on in this Parashat it says that when they came, it never happened before and never will happen again. That type of attack from locusts. But one thing I was trying to mention here is that you see Hashem gives Moshe Rabbeinu one sentence. He tells him, I'm going to mock Egypt. Moses gives Paro a whole Megillah of things. What, he created it? This is a very, very, simple thing, but for some reason people have a problem believing it today. This is a very clear proof of the Midrash. The Midrash is part of the oral Torah. There's two Torahs. There's the Rein Torah, which is this, the book that we read in the Beit Knesset, or the Chumash that we have in front of us, the Tanakh. That's the Rein Torah. And then there's the oral Torah. Oral Torah was transferred from mouth to mouth, from Moses all the way until today. At the beginning of Pirkei Avot, you could see a list of all the people that the Torah traveled from in every single generation. Literally has names of all the generations, from who was the Gedol Hador, where it traveled from father to son, from the Nevi'im, and so on. It's the beginning of Pirkei Avot. So now, the oral Torah has many parts. You have the Gemara, which is also called the Talmud. You have the Mishnah, which is part of the Gemara, technically. It comes before the Gemara. You have the Zohar, you have the which part of the Zohar is Kabbalah, you have the Midrashim. Midrashim is the story behind the story. But for some reason you tell somebody, listen, it says this in the Torah. Where does it say that the locust ate the eyes of the Egyptians after they finished the food? After the locusts finished the food, they started it. They were looking for more. It was already ruined. They didn't have that much food. So what do? They start eating the eyes of the Egyptians. So you tell this to people. It's like, well, where does it say? Where does it say? I don't see it in the verse. That's the Midrash. That's the old Torah. That's what Rashi is. That's what Rabbi Akiva is. That's what all of these Abarbanel, where you have a Onkelos, Rambam. They put Midrashim. They explain to us the story behind the story. Easiest way to prove it is you see. Obviously, Hashem told Moshe a lot more than one thing, because Moshe here is saying several things. And Moshe is the most important prophet of all time. Nobody's going to be like Moshe. Moshe spoke to Hashem face to face. He spoke to him like you and I speaking to each other. He's a big tzaddik. It's one of the 13 principles of faith. Moshe Rabbeinu has several parts of the 13 principles of faith. You have to believe in Moshe. It's not you or me. It's Moshe Rabbeinu. So of course Moshe knows you're not allowed to add to Hashem's words. So how come it has 5 sentences versus 2 or 1? Because Hashem is not going to repeat the same thing and waste time and add more letters for no reason. Every letter, every sentence, every word, every paragraph in the Torah, every letter has a reason. Nothing is duplicated for no reason. So, of course, Hashem made sure that he told Moshe all the details, but there's no purpose to write him saying it and then Moshe saying it. He's just going to write it once. So this shows that obviously the conversation between Moshe and Hashem is much more than what's written here. And that's the Midrash. So when somebody tells, no, that's the Midrash. Midrash is Torah. It's not, Midrash. It's like Sipurei Savta. It's like, the stories of our grandparents to make us go to sleep when we're 3 years old. Midrash is part of the Torah. And for some reason, lately I've been hearing this in a few places. People go, no, it's a Midrash. Like, it doesn't matter. Midrash is part of the Torah. So now, Paro, his servants are breaking. They're pretty much saying, no, Paro, how long will it be? A snare for us. Send out these men so that may they serve Hashem, their God. Do you not know yet that Egypt is lost? I mean, Egypt has been destroyed. We went from the top. We lost pretty much almost all of our money. We have problems. We have barely any food. So Paro says, he calls back Moshe. And he says to them, who's going to serve Hashem? Who's going to the desert? Moshe says, everybody's going to the desert. So Paro is reading his face, like he's looking at Moshe's face, and he accuses him of lying. He goes, no, see, you're not going to come back. You guys are wicked. And he kicks them out. He says to him, look, the evil intent is opposite your faces. לא כן לכו נא הגברים ועבדו את אדוני כי אותה אתם מבקשים ויגרש אותם מאת פני פרעה. So here we can learn something about somebody sometimes in the business world or just in the general world. Sometimes you meet people that they're always accusing everybody of doing something. They're always accusing this guy of stealing, this guy of cheating. They're accusing everybody of doing it. Usually that's a bad sign about them. Because usually the guilty think everyone else is out to get them. The people that are usually wicked usually accuse everybody else of being wicked.
What is accusing? Sorry.
accusing כאילו מאשימים את כולם. כאילו הוא חושב, הוא אומר, לא, זה גנב, זה גונב, זה יגנוב. אז זה באמת אומר שהוא באמת בעצמו גנב.
לשון הרע ורכילות.
חוץ מלשון הרע. אבל העניין פה שכאילו אם בן אדם שהוא כל הזמן חושד בכולם, הוא אומר, לא מאמין לו, זה שקרן, זה ככה, זה ככה, כאילו כל הזמן, כל הפועלים
אם יש מישהו שבא אמר לו בעבר, שמע, זה גנב ממני, זה שיקר אותי, זה עשה לי ככה.
different. זה האדם השני. זה אדם שיש לו מנטליות. A person that has a mentality that he naturally suspects everyone of being there out to get him. I used to know this guy. He used to work for me, actually. That always thought that we're out to get him somehow. The funny thing is, I did more for this guy than I probably did for any of my employees. Did things that, to help him out with things that weren't even related to work. But for some reason, he always thought that I have this master plan to fool him or do something against him or whatever it was. I don't know why, but again, later on I found out that, he wasn't exactly a tzaddik. But that's the nature of people that are... actually, now that I think about it, I had more than one guy working for me like that. The other guy fired had like that. So, people that usually suspect everyone are usually guilty themselves, and that's what's happening with Paro over here. He's suspecting Moshe and Aaron of doing something wrong. In reality, it's his own inner instinct that's acting up, and it's because he is guilty himself. So, after the locusts come, they eat everything. Paro hurries up to make sure to call Moses and Aaron. And he says to them, I have sinned to Hashem your God and to you. And now please forgive my sin, just this time. Like as if it's the only sin he ever made. Just this time. And entreat Hashem your God and remove from me only this death. As mamash, these locusts are so difficult, they're destroying everything that it feels like everyone's dying. People are getting their eyes eaten, all the food is being eaten. They're going to get to a point of having complete hunger here. Here, Paro acts as if he is doing tshuva, and he's not only apologizing to Hashem, but he's also apologizing for disrespecting Moshe. He says, I have sinned to Hashem your God and to you. In the past, when he pretended like he was sorry, he would say, I have sinned, your God was righteous, and me and my people were wicked. He only apologized to God, never respected Moshe. Here, finally, he's showing Moshe some respect. He's saying, I sinned against you. Just this time. Forgive my sin just this time, like it's the only sin he ever made. So already you see that this is nonsense. See, it's destroying my country, they're eating everything, remove this death from me, because this is going to bring death. Now there were so many locusts, the Midrash says there were so many locusts, that even the Egyptians that were killing them, they said, okay, they ate all the food, so what we're going to do is start eating locusts. Which, by the way, is not allowed in Judaism, except for one type. This type was allowed. The Yemenites, and I think some Moroccans, actually to this day eat them. There's not that many. You have to know. Only if you have an old tradition. You and I can't go to the store and eat locusts, because we don't have that in our tradition. But they have in their tradition to know exactly which locust they're allowed to eat. It's not every locust. There's a certain type you're allowed to eat, which is many, many generations old, and to this day they eat it, especially the Ammonites.
מה זה לוקוס?
לוקוס,
לוקוס, מסור לאכול לוקוס?
לוקוס, איך הוא זה?
חגב.
חגב.
אני מדבר על דג של לוקוסים כל הזמן, לא הבנתי מה...
לוקוס זה חגבים, הרבה.
לא דג לוקוס,
הרבה. לוקוס, הרבה. אז... So now... He's asking to, so they lost all the food. So the Egyptians they see so many, they're going to start eating the what's it called? The grasshoppers. And it's, you know what, we could build our country with this. We have so many of them, we could sell them. So as soon as Paro comes to Moshe, Moshe goes to Hashem, prays to Hashem to remove it, and Hashem brings a powerful wind from the west, and pushes the locusts towards the Sea of Reeds, every single one of them. Now it says specifically, not a single locust remained within the entire border of Egypt. So what about the dead ones?
Not
That's
a
the
single
they
one.
saw.
No. The Midrash says that they started filling up buckets and buckets of dead bugs to sell. And they made the deal. And as soon as the Hashem made this wind, the live ones flew away, and the dead ones came back to life and flew away.
איזה מכה זו הייתה?
הרבה.
לא, מספר.
מספר?
8.
8.
Number 8. So the locusts came back to life, resurrection of the dead, to make sure that the Egyptians don't benefit out of even selling them. Not eating them, not selling them, not nothing. So, but after this, Paro doesn't do tshuva, even though he said he will. The interesting thing about, I wrote here in a note, is that you see that even throughout this time that Hashem is performing all of these miracles, he's still using nature to make it look somewhat realistic. Meaning that when he brought the locusts, when he brought all these bugs from a different place to Egypt, he brought them using wind. It specifically says he brought a strong wind. And to get them away, he's using a strong wind to get them away. Now in reality, Hashem can just make them appear and disappear. One day they're here, next second they're not here. Why is he specifically saying that he's using the wind? Because this is still giving people the ability to have free choice. If they see that the locusts appear like magic, one day they're here, 2 seconds they're not here, then obviously it's obvious that it's an act of God. But if it came through the wind, then you can say, no, maybe it's nature. Maybe it's nature that did it, not God, even though God is nature. You know, Hashem, Elohim, and Hateva have the same gematria, have the same numerical value. Hateva is nature, and Elohim is Hashem. Which means that Hashem, Hateva, nature, is Hashem in disguise. It's being disguised. So, Hashem, even throughout these miraculous times, is still using nature to give us free choice. This is the problem with today, is that people have gone to the point where they still have this free choice, but unfortunately, they keep choosing the wrong thing. So you have unnatural events, like what's happening in Israel, where the terrorists shot 4,000 or 5,000 missiles at Eretz Yisrael into areas where there's a lot of people, and Baruch Hashem, nobody died. Everybody's like, no, see, it's because of the Iron Dome. It's because of the special weapons we have, and the special army we have, and the special protection we have from the IDF and the government, and all this shtuyot. They really believe that if you shot, one missile anywhere, hundreds of people die or get injured. 4,000 missiles, nothing. They still think it's the Iron Dome or the Red Dome or all this nonsense that they have. They really think their weapons are really what's helping them. That's the problem. So Hashem is making it look natural. He's making it look natural because he wants to give you the free choice. So even then, even during the times of Egypt, he still made it look natural by using wind. After this, we're arriving at the next plague, number 9. Number 9 is a very, very interesting plague, not only because of the plague itself, but also what happened to it. It's something that's supposed to teach us a lot about today. So after Paro does not do tshuva, ויאמר אדוני אל משה נטה ידיך על השמיים ויהי חושך על ארץ מצרים וימש חושך. Hashem said to Moses, stretch forth your hand towards the heavens, and there shall be darkness upon the land of Egypt. And the darkness will be tangible. What is it tangible? Tangible, you can touch it. It's choshech, but you can touch it. So, the Midrash says, it also says here, there's 2 periods of, Ramban actually says, there's 2 periods of 3 days. First 3 days there was so much darkness that you couldn't see anything. It was like a fog, you couldn't see anything. One person was here, the next person right next to him, you couldn't see him. Nothing, can't see nothing. But the next 3 days took it to the next level, where it was tangible. The actual darkness was tangible, meaning that you can feel it, where whatever the position you were in, you stayed like that for 3 days. So if somebody sat down, they couldn't get up for 3 days. If somebody jumped up in the air, they're stuck in the air for 3 days. Somebody was bent over, they're bent over for 3 days. They couldn't move. The darkness was consuming it. Literally was like a clay of some kind that kept you exactly where you are. And on top of it, to make it even more scary, there was very, very scary noises. And you can't do anything about it.
You can't move.
Can't do it. You can't move, can't do anything about it.
כשהיית על הסולם, אתה נשאר על הסולם.
If you're on the ladder, if you're...
But I don't have a question. Why not do the shiur in Hebrew? Because yeah.
I've been doing this shiur in English for over a year and a half now.
Okay.
Sometimes people come that most people speak English, sometimes people speak Hebrew, but most of the fans are on the internet, and 90% of them speak English.
Okay.
But on Thursday, I do a shiur in Hebrew, you can come.
Thursday?
Thursday, Bezrat Hashem.
Here, every Thursday?
Thursday, Bezrat Hashem, yeah. Thursday we do it in Hebrew.
Okay.
So now,
שברת השם.
the new guy has requests. What do you want?
שעה לשיניים.
It's good.
אתה רוצה לשבור את השם, אתה תשבור את האוזניים.
So anyway, the darkness, they're all stuck in it. It says, "Velo kamu ish mitachtav," 3 yamim. So no one could rise from his place for 3-day period. So it says it's meforash here. So during this time, the Jews went to the Egyptians. They went to the Egyptian houses to see what the Egyptian people had, because Hashem asked Moshe to do him a favor. It's actually very interesting. It says, Daber na means please. Hashem is talking to Moses. Daber na beoznei העם, וישאלו איש מאת רעהו ואישה מאת רעותה כלי כסף וכלי זהב. So it says, please speak in the ears of the people. Let each man request of his fellow, and each woman from her fellow, silver vessels and gold vessels. So during the darkness plague, the Jews went and saw, they went into the houses of the Egyptians to see what they have, but they didn't take anything. So after the plague was over, it says, "Vayiten Adonai etchen ha'am b'nei Mitzrayim." It says that the Hashem granted the people favor in the eyes of the Egyptians. The Egyptians came back. They thought that they've been stuck. They haven't been able to see anything for a week almost. So they figured that during that week, the Jews probably came into the house and stole everything. Instead, they came into the house. They saw everything is there. The Jews didn't take even 1 spoon. What a kiddush Hashem! Because they could have taken everything. They could have left. They could have done whatever they want. Big kiddush Hashem. So it says, "Vayiten Adonai etchen ha'am b'nei Mitzrayim." It says that they liked them now. They found favor in their eyes. The Egyptians, the actual Egyptian people, like the Jews now. It says, wow, what honest people. They could have stole everything, they didn't steal anything. That's Kiddush Hashem. There's an interesting story online. There's a rabbi from, I believe, in New Jersey. I forget his name, but I should remember his name soon. A very, very interesting story happened recently. He bought a desk from some woman online. And, a cheap desk. And he gets it to his house, and he's going through the desk. I think maybe something got stuck, or he's putting it together. Anyway, he sees that there's a bag in the drawer, behind the drawer. He opens it, he takes it, and he sees there's $94,000 in cash inside the desk. Let me ask you a question. You just bought a desk, and you find $94,000 in cash.
Honestly, no.
I was hoping you wouldn't answer. But what does tzaddik do? He calls the woman, and he confirms that it's hers, and he brings it back to her.
מה אתה היית
גם
עושה?
איזה מצווה מהתורה.
Kiddush Hashem.
מה לעשות?
Now, after that,
חייב להחזיר. But he knew,
this became very, this became public, and they put him on television, and famous show. He went on a famous show, and you see a religious rabbi with his wife on the show, and he says, "Yes, in my religion, this is what I thought. In Judaism, the Torah teaches us this is what we have to do. We have to return. This is." He wasn't really obligated to return because the woman wasn't Jewish, but he did it, and he got the schar in this world and the next world.
לא היה לו
קידוש השם.
זה.
The woman forgot she lost it.
היא אמרה לו, כשהוא קנה את הדסק, she told him to a conversation that she was the original owner.
Yes.
So he had no choice, but knowing that it's definitely her money. That was the big thing, you know?
100%.
She was
Yeah, but-
Jewish.
No, I don't know. They didn't,
No, I don't believe.
even think they got into that.
I don't believe she was Jewish, but either
So
way.
he did not
I don't
have
think
the
it matters. זה
obligation.
לא משנה אם היא יהודייה או
No.
לא יהודייה.
No,
But
so
I have
We
a
talked about it
question.
before the shiur. It's good to know.
It doesn't really
One
matter.
farming guy in Colombia, I read this before a few months, he found in his land more than 500 in cash, packed by nylon, wrapped by nylon.
It's for
Huh?
a drug dealer.
The drug dealer, Pablo Escobar.
That you can keep.
This one I can keep if I found.
So who's gonna claim it? Who are you gonna go to find to claim it?
Okay, so let's explain. I'll
Money
explain
is
to you guys.
different, though. Cash is different.
I'll explain to you the what you're supposed to do, what you can do,
You're supposed
and then
to
we'll
He
move on to
go
the
to
next
the
issue.
government and give him everything. This guy.
No, no.
No.
Okay. If you find a wallet,
You're supposed to give it in. You're
hold
supposed
on
to
a
turn
second.
it in.
Hold on, Sadiq, hold on. If you find a wallet, and the wallet has identification of a Jew, you're obligated to give it back. You have to find the person, you're obligated to give it back to him. Now, if there's no identification in the wallet, and you look around, and there's nobody claiming it, and it's at a point where you found it at a place where there's no way that somebody's even looking for it there. Let's say, for example, you found it in a sewer or in a garbage or
Right.
something like that.
Right.
It's yours. On the other hand, you find a wallet that the identity is for a non-Jew. You're not obligated to give it back. But if you do give it back, you are doing the biggest mitzvah in Judaism, which is Kiddush Hashem.
What you explained before.
Which is what we explained before the shiur, while you guys were talking before.
It's not really Kiddush Hashem.
What do you mean it's
unless-
not? I'm telling you what it is.
Hold
You
on.
tell me.
How-
Tell me what I'm telling
it's not Kiddush Hashem if you don't represent yourself as a Jew. In other words, if you're Chiloni, this guy doesn't know you're a Jew, how are you doing Kiddush Hashem?
Obviously, but it's yes. There's
He's
levels
right.
of levels of Kiddush Hashem.
Okay.
There's levels of Kiddush Hashem. If you do it that way, the way this rabbi did it with the $94,000,
It's 100% Kiddush
it's
Hashem.
the biggest Kiddush Hashem,
Also
and
went
it
on
looks
television
great.
publicly.
Can.
Absolutely.
It's that's why his rabbi told him to do it, to publicize it as much as possible, because it's a big Kiddush Hashem. Because all the stories we hear about in the media today is just against the nation of Israel. So to have something good is always a positive. So moving forward, there was a Kiddush Hashem where it got to the point where the Egyptians actually liked the Jews in their own strange ways. But the question here is, why did Hashem not only ask Moshe to ask the nation of Israel to borrow some things from the Egyptians, but he asked very nicely. He said, "Please, dabir na means please. Please speak in the ears of the people." He doesn't say that everywhere else. Please speak, like almost do me a favor and speak to the people and tell them to go to the Egyptians and borrow some silver vessels and gold vessels from them. No mir there. Who knows?
He's telling who is this to?
He's telling us to Moshe to go speak to the nation
Hashem
of
is
Israel.
telling this to
Hashem.
Moshe.
Hashem is
Yeah.
telling, yes. Wait.
To please go.
Hashem
And
is telling
ask
Moshe, please go to the nation of Israel
And tell them.
and tell them to go to the Egyptians, to ask the Egyptians to lend them some silver vessels, gold vessels,
The
clothing.
word is lend. or give?
Request.
Okay.
Vish'alu is lend, borrow. Lish'ol is it's to borrow.
To ask, no?
To borrow.
To borrow?
להשאיל.
But he knew they were going to borrow it. He knew they're not going to borrow it. They're leaving.
You're missing the point. Why does Hashem care? Why do you tell him, please do me this favor? Why the borrowing part is a completely different story.
הכין אותם, הוא רצה שיצאו ברכוש גדול.
You already, well, that, yeah, זה כן, בטוח.
אבל למה הוא אמר
Why is he
גם?
asking
למה הוא אומר להם
please?
לבקש
Why
יפה?
please?
Because they already found favor in their eyes. So if they claim it, then it turns them around again. הוא אומר להם, בואו, תבקשו יפה. He knew they're going to willingly give it to them.
Okay, but why is Hashem saying please? Why don't you say, Moshe, tell the nation of
Lead by
Israel
example.
to go borrow some stuff from the Egyptians? Why is he saying, please, Moshe? Like, please, do me a favor. He doesn't say please in every sentence. He doesn't say please at all. It's Hashem. It's a king of kings.
And this one he say, please?
He says
Where?
please.
Where?
דבר נא. מה זה נא?
בבקשה.
נא זה please, בבקשה.
דבר נא, זה דבר איתם, מה זה נא, דבר?
דבר נא.
דבר נא.
I don't know, because it's
בבקשה,
owed to
תדבר.
them. I don't know. Why?
Okay.
We don't
So
know.
here's the
Lead by example?
Hashem, then he would say please in every sentence.
No, this way. When you go to ask for
We're in a
something.
different direction. So let me tell you guys the secret, save some time.
Okay, go ahead.
When Hashem told Avraham Avinu, Avraham, your descendants are going to suffer as slaves for 400 years. But I promise you, and the heaven and the earth are witnesses, that when they leave, and I take them out of slavery, they will leave with a rechush gadol. They'll leave a very wealthy nation. So Hashem is saying, I promised my son Avraham that when I take them out of Egypt, they're going to leave with a rechush gadol. They're going to leave with a lot of money. Now, if I take them out just like they are right now, slaves, with no money, take them out. Okay, so Avraham is going to say, thank you for taking my descendants out of Egypt. So you delivered on the promise that you're going to make them slaves for 400 years. You delivered on the promise that you took them out. But what about the promise that where's the rechush gadol? Where's the money? Hashem, what do we say in the beginning of the Shiur? El, Melech, Ne'eman. Hashem is reliable. So he says, please, so I don't look like I'm not delivering on my word, please, Moshe, do me a favor, ask them to go borrow some things, take the rechush gadol. Why? Because the real rechush gadol, the real money, is waiting for them next to the Sea of Reeds. Next to Yam Suf, that's where the real money is. But they're leaving now. So they leave now, they're not going to have the money yet. The big money is they're going to find one of the three treasures of Yosef HaTzadik. Yosef had control of all of the money of the nation of Egypt. It was so much money you couldn't put it in one place. So he put it in three different places. One of them was next to the opening of Yam Suf. Hashem planned for them to get it. The second big rechush, big money, was after Hashem drowned all the Egyptians. When they came with all of their gold to show their power. You know, when somebody is a big gava, has a lot of pride, they don't come fight with a normal horse. They want to make sure they fight you on a $1 million horse. They don't fight on with a gun. They want to bring a bazooka and 10 other guns, like as if they know how to use it. So the Egyptians brought all of their gold with them. So after Hashem drowned them, he made the sea, the angel of the sea, spit out all of the Egyptians with their gold. So the entire shore of the sea was full of gold. That's what all the Jews gathered a lot of gold. It was even more that they got in the shore than they're getting right now. But Hashem said, listen, if I take them out, they can't see the future. They're people. And if I tell them, listen, you're going to get it later, it's still not now. My son Avraham can tell me, listen, you said when they leave, they're going to leave with rechush gadol. They're going to leave with the money. Not that they're going to get the money down the road. They're already leaving with the lotto
So
ticket.
did they leave with Rechush Gadol?
Yes,
Technically, if they found so
100%.
much more when after they left.
they left. Listen, they left multi-millionaires. They became billionaires. They're still rich. They won the local lotto, and then they won the Powerball for $1.5 billion. But he's saying, look at how amazing Hashem is. That's what you guys you're not getting. Look at how amazing Hashem is. He's saying, please,
Oh, why?
go ask them. Why? Because you're doing me a favor. You don't really have to ask him. This is not my commandment. Here you're doing me a favor, he's telling them.
To keep my promise.
To keep my promise. Why? Because you're doing Kiddush Hashem. Why? Because when they leave with Rechush Gadol, then I can give the money right now anyway. But I want to make it look natural. I want to make it look natural. I can give the money, I put all the money in their pockets, make a whole big thing, a big ship full of gold. I can do whatever I want. But this makes it look natural. It's just so I could deliver on the promise that I made my son Avraham. That's how much he loved Avraham. That's obviously how important it is for us to understand.
You know, the question comes up though. When Yosef was a viceroy, he controlled all the money in Egypt.
Yes.
He controlled all the money in Egypt that actually the reason Egypt got so rich is because other countries came and brought gold and they brought food. But what about the inhabitants in Egypt that didn't have food? They would give away all their belongings and their land. Egypt owned everybody's land and everybody's homes.
Yes.
And all their gold. So how these inhabitants now, how do they even have gold to give to Am Yisrael?
Because there was the people of Egypt became rich off of the Jews once the Jews became slaves. So each person started getting other things. They initially, all of the people of Egypt became slaves of Paro, and that's how he became king. In essence, how he got so much power. But once the Jews came, they replaced them. They became the slaves. Even though everybody's technically still under Paro, but there's still government members that had a lot of money and other people that had a lot of money.
When you're
Not every Egyptian was rich. I mean, there was plenty of peasants and poor people, but there was
Right, I understand what you're saying. The question is when Yosef and his brothers had all this, I guess he had power in Egypt, they had money.
Mhm.
When they became slaves, was that taken away from them?
Everything was taken away from them. They were fooled into it. Pretty much originally, I think we talked about it last week. Originally, the Jews had their own businesses, and then Paro says, let's fool them. So Paro says, okay, let's leave your businesses. I'll pay you even more money. You're making $100 a day at your pizza store. Okay, I'll pay you $1,000 a day. Come work for me. Okay, so everybody left their job, closed their shops, come working for Paro. A little while later, it says, no, I can't afford $1,000, I'll pay you $500. Okay, $500 is still better than $100. After a little while longer, okay, $500 I can't pay, I can only pay you $100. Okay, I'm still breaking even anyway. If I go back to my business, I can't open it because it's destroyed already. I lost all my customers. And to build it to where it was, it's going to cost me too much money. I might as well just stay here and keep the money. And then after 100, went to 50. Okay, I'm making less, but I don't have a better choice. All my savings are gone because I continued to spend all my money as if I was going to make 1,000. That's how people are. You make some money, you're already spending as if you're going to make that money all the time. That's the problem with a lot of NFL players or athletes or celebrities or anybody that's rich very young, is that you think that that you're going to make that money forever. That's why you see people that they're athletes or all types of celebrities that make $100 million within a few years of their retirement, and they're retiring at 30, 35 years old. 4 or 5 years after retirement on the average, they're completely broke. They're completely bankrupt. People making $100 million. Why? Because in that young mindset, you think that you're always going to make $10, $20 million a year. I mean, I can tell you from my own personal experience. At some point, I mean, my top year, I made I think $5 million or whatever it was. And in that point, I was 100% certain that this is going to be the worst year ever, meaning that I'm only going to get better, because that's the way the career went. It went from being completely broke to making, a few $100,000 to making $1 million to making a few $100,000 every month to making millions and so on and so forth. So in my mind, within a couple of years, 3, 4, 5 years, I'm just going to make $10 million just to walk in and leave once or twice a year. That was my mindset. So That is human nature. That's generally human nature, and it's a flaw in human nature. But anyway, moving forward with this whole situation, this whole situation with Egypt. Now we have ourselves a situation where Jews have just made a big mitzvah of Kiddush Hashem. By the same token, the game must continue. So Hashem sends Moses to warn Paro about this plague, which is going to be the firstborn. If you don't let my people go, I'm going to your firstborn of everyone is going to die. Now the interesting thing here is that in verse 8, I think. So when Hashem is telling them of what He's going to do, He's telling them that He's going to, He's going to release you against even regardless of the fact that He doesn't want to. He's going to end up being forced to do it. Sfono, one of Chazal, is teaching us here with the word kala, it shall be complete, meaning that once this plague is done, this is going to be complete all the plagues. Sfono says that from here he's telling you He shall send you as He has sent you in the past, meaning as He kicked you out. That's the way He's going to kick you out from the country. He kicked you out of his castle when you upset Him. He's going to kick you, the whole nation, meaning let you go. He's going to get you to get out already. He doesn't want you to stay there anymore, just as fast. But here the sages are learning something very, very interesting from Masechet Avot. Someone who neglects the Torah because of wealth will ultimately neglected in poverty. Meaning that God gives us mitzvot, and He's telling us, you have two choices. You're either going to follow what I say because you want to, or because you have no choice. At one point or another, you're not going to have a choice. Initially, I'm going to give you the freedom of choice. You could decide to fear me or not. You could decide to listen to my mitzvot or not. You could decide to keep Shabbat or not. You could decide to not drive on Shabbat or not. You could decide to do all these things. But eventually, I'm going to remove that choice from you and force you to do it, whether you like it or not.
Yeah, can I ask a question? Why, if it's raining, why you cannot go from your home to the synagogue, to the Bet Knesset with umbrella? No, really, this thing. Okay, I agree. I accept.
It violates one of the 39 melachot of Shabbat. There's 39 restrictions, 39 things you're not allowed to do on Shabbat. And opening the umbrella and carrying it in the rain, it violates one of them. Violates one of them. I'll go over with you all the malachot after the shiur if you want.
But right now I have to go, but in Thursday I will come in the Hebrew. Okay? Thank you very much.
So, Hashem is telling us that you can listen to me or not. So meaning somebody says, no, I drive on Shabbat. Eventually, so Hashem can put that person into a position that they can't drive anymore. Hashem says, put them into an accident, they can't drive anymore. Or even something less. He could say, just remove their license, but somebody can still violate it anyway. Anyway, the point is that Hashem continues to send us signs. He continues to send us signs, and it's up to us of whether we listen to it or not. We're either going to be Paro and not listen to the signs, or we could be Moshe and do tshuva. That's what we have to ask ourselves every day.
I want to be Moshe and live like Paro.
You want to be Moshe and live like Paro? So He's telling Moshe whether he wants to or not, huh?
אבא נתחלק מה לו.
Whether he wants to or not, he's going to have to let you go, and this is the last plague. So when Moshe comes to,
The last play.
this is the last plague. When Moshe comes to Paro to tell him about this plague, he's saying it's going to happen at about midnight. Kechatzot alayla. Not at midnight, but at about midnight. Why at about midnight? Because Moshe knew that the astrologers of Paro were always looking for a way out. Even though they saw 9 plagues already happen exactly as Moshe said, if he says at midnight and it happens at 12:20, said, "Oh, see, yeah, this is it has nothing to do with his plague. It's not exactly what he said. He said at midnight. It happened at 1 o'clock in the morning. So Moshe was smart. He says at about midnight. At about midnight. That's an interesting part. Then after this, the whole action stops for a second, and Hashem gives us some mitzvot that we have to learn. All the action stops. We're right before the last plague, and there's a little segue into a few mitzvot that Hashem commands us. These are some of the foundations of Judaism, that one of the first mitzvot that we got on Judaism, but unfortunately some of them are not really appreciated. Like for example, the first mitzvah we get is Rosh Chodesh. It's in Yud Bet Bet, Yud Bet Aleph, Yud Bet Bet. ויאמר אדוני אל משה ואל אהרון בארץ מצרים לאמור, החודש הזה לכם ראש חודשים, ראשון הוא לכם לחדשי השנה. Hashem said to Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, saying, the month shall be for you the beginning of the months, and it shall be for you the beginning of the months of the year. So here we learn about the mitzvah of Rosh Chodesh. We also, which is in the whole concept of the new moon. We celebrate the new moon. Also, Birkat HaLevana, we have to do the blessing of the Levana each month. So it's here in this parasha. I'm not going to talk too deeply into it, but to tell you something that's very interesting. First and foremost, during the times of the persecution we got from the Syrians and the Greeks during the time of Hanukkah, a couple thousand years ago, the evil Greeks wanted to destroy our Torah, and they wanted us to disconnect ourselves from Judaism, disconnect ourselves from Hashem, because they knew that the Babylonians were much bigger than Ham, and they lost to the Jews. Connection to Hashem. The Romans bigger. They lost what? Connection to Hashem. So they said we have to disconnect them from Hashem. Not kill the Jews. We want to keep the Jews. Keep them alive. Even give them good jobs. Just don't want them to be Jews. We want them to be Chilonim. They will be proud if they were here today in our generation where 80% of the Jews don't keep Shabbat. They would say, oh, we won the war 2,000 years later. But the point here is, how do they want us to disconnect from Judaism? They said there's 3 mitzvot we don't want you to do. Shabbat, circumcision, and Rosh Chodesh. Rosh Chodesh. Why? Because they see this is the first mitzvah you're getting from Hashem. They put it on the same level as Shabbat and circumcision. So obviously you see that Rosh Chodesh is a very, very important mitzvah. You have to know when the months are. Why is it important to know when the Levana, when the moon is, where it's a new moon, when it's not? Why is it very important? Why do we have an exact number, a scientific number, the Torah has before science? Hashem says that the time span between one moon and the next is an exact time frame. It will never be less than 29 days, 12 hours, 44 minutes, and 3 1/3 seconds. So it's a number with 6 digits. We have in our Gemara 29.5, and there's 6 digits. Science finally caught up to 4 digits or 5 digits. They're still not up to where we are. The proof that we have in the Torah. We don't have supercomputers like we have today or anything like that. This comes from Hashem. So actually, the renewal of the moon is one of the best scientific proofs of the oral Torah and the Torah in general. It's important to know, because if we don't know our calendar, we don't know when to do the holidays. And if we don't know what to do with the holidays, we lose a lot of our mitzvot. One interesting thing that, we just had Rosh Chodesh. All of you have a very, very good, successful Rosh Chodesh during the Rosh Chodesh and the Tefillah. If you read the Hallel and all the Tefillot of Rosh Chodesh, you see there's a lot of really good blessings. You get a Rosh Chodesh, a big connection with Hashem during Rosh Chodesh, a lot of blessings come. And it's important to know something. There's actually a chidush I got just the other day that really put things into perspective. When Hashem originally created the world, it says He created the orot, He created the lights, He created the sun and the moon, right? But originally Chazal says, the sun and the moon were the same size. It was like two suns. Not only the same size, both of them had the same light. It's like two suns. Two huge suns. And then the story goes, the moon came to Hashem and said, Hashem, it can't be two angels with a crown. One should be less than the other. So Hashem said, yeah, you're right. So since you're the one that spoke, you're going to be less than the sun. And he got punished. And he became the moon, which is much, much smaller than the sun. And also depends on the sun for light. The moon doesn't generate its own light. So for one thing at the moon, which is controlled by an angel, like anything else, the moon said one thing wrong. Showed a little bit of gava. Said, no, it shouldn't be two of us. It should be just one. For one thing said wrong. He got minimized for the last 5,776 years. And they say all the way until when the world ends, eventually it's going to get back its size and so on. But Chazal says, for one sin, for one bad thing, look what I got. But it teaches also that for a good thing that you say, it's at least 500 times greater than the bad thing. So if the moon didn't say it, and instead would have said something good, it could have been much, much greater than the sun. This is a musar skill. This is something we can teach ourselves, is that the next time we're about to say Lashon Hara about somebody, the next time we're about to say something bad about somebody, next time we're about to say anything bad, even a curse because we're upset at something, you got to do the calculation. For bad, Hashem can minimize me. But for good, it's 500 times greater. It's easy accounting. So that's one thing about the moon. It's every time you look at it, it's good to remember that. After this, when he talks about the...
לא, היינו במכות, בפלאץ'.
Yeah.
אז יש פה הפסקה.
Yeah.
עם המצוות.
So after that, he talks about how the Pesach mitzvot, we get over here. It says, Dabru el kol edat Israel. It says, speak to the entire assembly of Israel, meaning speak to all of Israel. But kol edah, even, there's within sections within it. But unlike what we have today with Ashkenazi, Sephardic, Yemenite, Litai, and everybody has a machloket, everyone thinks that they're better. Here, Hashem is telling us, everybody's together, same Torah for everybody. One size fits all. We're almost done. Almost. So one of the things that we learned throughout all of these plagues is that Hashem is constantly destroying idol worship. From the first plague of how he punished the water, the Nile River, turning into blood that smells, and he's constantly going against Paro and against idol worship. And right before the last plague, he gives us the mitzvah of Pesach, and he tells us that we have to celebrate in a certain way, and we all have to take these sheep and goats, which the Egyptians believed were gods, and take them and tie them to each person tied to their corner of their bed, and leave them there for 4 days. Screaming, man, 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 for 4 days. Now, initially you think about it, it's going to be a big punishment for the Egyptians. They see their God, they're asking to come to the Jews and say, what are you doing? What are you doing to my God? He said, no, that's what Hashem says, and after we finish in 4 days, Hashem said that we have to slaughter them. We have to kill your God. The Egyptians wanted to kill them, but they couldn't, and Hashem made them powerless. They couldn't do anything. But at the same token, if I'm sleeping on that bed, who wants to hear the sheep screaming for 4 days? Imagine 4 days how much is screaming. So this is actually one of the things that we have to understand, that after all of the years of torture and the years of tum'ah and the years of itbolelut, and not itbolelut like we have today, but meaning that being next to the Egyptians, seeing how they act, the nation of Israel reached the 49th level of tum'ah, and it was so bad that when they got to Yam Suf, when they got to the Sea of Reeds, the angel of Egypt came to Hashem. He said, Hashem, it's not fair that you're going to drown the Egyptians and let the Jews live. The Egyptians are idol worshippers, and the Jews are idol worshippers. That's how bad they were. Today, I think we're worse, by the way, just in case anyone's asking. Mamash, but it's mamash, we're at least the same level they were, if not worse. But Baruch Hashem, we're still not too late. And Hashem will not let it get too late, but nonetheless, this is a big problem. So Hashem, why did we make this segue into these other mitzvot, Rosh Chodesh, circumcision? He actually makes them all circumcise themselves. Why? Why circumcise? Because he says you can't eat the zroa, you can't eat the sheep or goats that you tie to your beds after 4 days. You have to grill it. You can't cook it or bake it or roast it. You have to grill it to make sure that when you're cooking it, it still looks like a sheep. So the Egyptians can see it. They can see their God being mocked and turned into nothing. Mamash, when Hashem says, To'avat Hashem, when Hashem says, it's disgusting to me, He makes sure you know it. It's not just like He says, I want you to know, I'm doing it in your face. Why? I am Hashem. So what's going on here? So Hashem is telling them, you're so bad right now, you're such a bad level, that I have to give you a few mitzvot to get you at least a little less than 49th level. So give them the mitzvah of circumcision. You have to do circumcision. No one's allowed to eat the sheep or the goat without being circumcised. Also gives them the mitzvah of Rosh Chodesh.
They lost the circumcision the whole time they were in Egypt, the slaves?
The time in the last generation of them, they didn't do circumcision. They got to such a bad level, they didn't do circumcision. Almost like what's happening in Israel, where they're trying to outlaw circumcision. No, but they're trying. I'm not making this up. Trying to outlaw circumcision. Right?
The whole world says it's a good thing, and in Israel they're trying to.
But it's happening. Even if one person's saying it, it's happening.
Yeah.
So Hashem is saying, also the mitzvah of mezuzah is in here. So He's giving us a couple of mitzvot. Why? Because the next mitzvah you do is going to save your life. If you don't do the next mitzvah, that's it. You get to level number 50. The next averah, the next sin you make, gets you to level number 50. I'm trying to save you. Do a mitzvah, any mitzvah. Pick one mitzvah. Do circumcision. Do the sheep. Do mezuzah. Do Rosh Chodesh. Do Pesach. Anything you do, just get out of level number 49 because you're about to reach number 50. Once you're at 50, that's it.
You're done.
You're done. I can't destroy I have to destroy the world.
All of that they didn't get out yet.
Exactly. You had to give them. You had to give them a mitzvah to even justify getting them out. This needs to remind us of something. No one knows where they stand. And if you know where you stand, you have a problem of gava. No one knows where they stand. A righteous person needs to look at himself as always 50-50. Even if he's learning Torah all day from morning to night, or he learns Torah 15 minutes a day. Has to look at himself 50-50, meaning that the next mitzvah he does puts him on the good side. The next sin he does puts him on the bad side. But not only him, the entire world. The entire world is on 50-50 right now. Your next mitzvah puts you at puts the entire world on the good side. Your next avera puts you on the bad side. After he does the good mitzvah, he has to say, okay, I'm on the good side. Oh, I'm back to 50-50 because somebody else made an avera. We're back to 50-50 to make sure mitzvah goreret mitzvah. Mitzvah leads to another mitzvah. You constantly have to look at yourself as 50-50. You can decide based on your own actions if the entire world is doomed or in a good position. Why? Because it happened before. He's telling you in this parasha, I had to, in the middle of all this craziness, in the middle of the last plague, to get this whole story, that's almost a year of these plagues. You have locusts, you have frogs, you have water turning to blood, you have, water and ice, water and fire, and the same thing, the hail. Mm-hmm. You have animals coming from Alaska. With all this craziness happening, in the middle, Hashem needs to give us some mitzvot to do. Come on. You couldn't wait till we leave Egypt? Hey, let me get out of here first, give me a mitzvah after. He's telling you it's so bad right now, I have to give you a mitzvah because if you make another sin, which is your natural human instinct to do it, because you're best friends with the Yetzer Hara. You worked for him for the last several years. You make another avera, you get to level number 50. And if you get to level number 50, everybody gets to level number 50. And we can't take you out. That's the way we have to look at ourselves. Before someone lights the light on Shabbat, before someone looks inappropriately at a woman, before you overcharge the customer, whether he's a goy or he's a Jew, doesn't matter. It's even worse if he's a goy because it's chilul Hashem. Before you do all of this zera levatala, girlfriend, nonsense, garbage that's in the world, think about it. The world is relying on you. We're on 49 level right now. Nobody in the world, no big rabbi in the world is going to tell you, no, we're okay. No one will tell you we're okay. So overall, we're not okay. Yeah, of course, it's tzaddikim in our generation, but as a whole, we're not okay. And I don't believe many disagree, or if anybody at all disagrees, that we're not far off from the level number 50. So the world relies on you. That's why Hashem broke up this whole parasha and threw some mitzvahs in there, because this next mitzvah, the next mitzvah you do, can save your life. The smallest mitzvah, tzitzit. Somebody came, we said it before. Somebody came to the Vilna Gaon, see him on his deathbed. He's crying. Why? Kod Harav, why are you crying? You're going to go to Gan Eden. You're tzaddik your whole life. He says, yes, but I'm leaving a world that for every second I get a mitzvah. For wearing tzitzit. Every second I wear it, it's a mitzvah. How could I have a better deal than that? Every second I wear tzitzit, I get a mitzvah. You know what a mitzvah? You know what the problem is, though? We don't know what a mitzvah is. That's the problem. It's not that the tzitzit really bothers us. It's too hot, it's too cold, it's too this, it's too that. If I told you, Tomer, that for every second you do anything, I don't know, you wear tzitzit, you wear this, you wear keep, whatever. For every second you just go like this. Every second you go like this, I give you $1 million. Would you ever put your hand down? Ever? Even after you get 500 million, it's still $1 million. You're still going to go like this. You're still going to go, it's another $1 million. Why am I going to stop? It's $1 million. So imagine $1 million not even a tiny fraction of what you get every second for wearing tzitzit. It's not even $1 billion. It's a fraction of what a mitzvah is. $1 billion is not even a fraction of what a mitzvah is. And you get that every second. So Vilna Gaon is saying, For every second I get a mitzvah, every second. That's why I'm crying. So the problem with us, we don't know what a mitzvah is. That's the problem. B'ezrat Hashem we learn. So now we're about to, after we get this plague, Hashem is telling us that in this last plague, it's going to be Him doing it, not His servants, not His angels. As we read in Haggadah on Pesach, Ani velo malach. Keep saying Ani, Ani, Ani. Who's Ani? Ani is Hashem. So here it says in verse 12, I shall go through the land of Egypt on this night, and I shall strike every firstborn in the land of Egypt. From man to beast, and against all the gods of Egypt, I shall mete out punishment. I am Hashem. Again he repeats, I am Hashem. That's the last one. Now after this, to finalize everything, after he, and let you guys get some sleep, I know you're tired.
אז אחרי שנגמר המכות, השם שאל את פרעה, איך היה המכות? ומה הוא ענה?
מה הוא ענה?
10.
So after this, the plague came at midnight, and it says that there was death in every house. Every house had a corpse, but I'm answering your question here. We have 5 minutes, so relax. Still, I'm not at 2 hours yet. So, every house had a corpse. Every house had a dead body. How could it be? What, every house has a firstborn? Firstborn moved out. He got married. He has kids.
No,
He's not living at home.
There's an answer. The answer is...
No, Tomer.
I'll tell you so. It has something to do. I try to remember. I know the answer. I'm just trying to remember this answer. So the Egyptians, they had something to do with them having multiple wives.
Not only that, but
Right,
even if they had multiple wives, meaning every wife had a firstborn, but even if there wasn't, all the firstborns moved out, the next person that's the oldest in the house became the firstborn in that house to make sure that there's a death in that house. Every house had a death. Not only every house, every barn. They had animals, firstborn of the animals died. Death everywhere. And also, one thing that I didn't know most of my life is, remember, like in the movies and our kids, we think that the blood that Hashem said to put on the posts, like the mezuzah, to put on posts, we thought that it would be outside. What do you think? You think it's outside, probably.
Yeah.
It wasn't. It was inside the house. The blood was for the Jews to see, not for the goyim. Hashem doesn't need it to see it, because it's Hashem coming down, not an angel. But it's for the Jews to see that they're complying with Hashem. And the reason why Hashem did not send an angel to go do this is because only Hashem would know if there's a firstborn or not, who's the firstborn. But the blood was for us to see, not for the goyim to see. So even if an Egyptian was hiding inside a Jewish house, he would still die, even with the blood on there. So the blood was to remind us of what? Ani Hashem, that God is who He is, that He's Ev Melech Neiman, that He's reliable. So it got so bad to the point where after this, Paro comes, runs in the street like a hysterical woman, looking for Moshe and Aaron, and begging them to leave. So much so that when the Jews come to the Egyptians to ask for some things, to ask for, some silver, some gold, whatever they ask for, the Egyptians beg them to take double. Just leave. Just leave. And that's how the nation of Israel left Egypt with the Rechush Gadol. They got a lot of money from it. They already had some money from the plagues, but they made money from the, if you remember I told you they made money from the plague of the water, turning into blood. But overall, you see how the nation of Israel is saved by Hashem. Hashem was very much involved in this whole process. He destroyed the biggest civilization in history. And we're commanded to read all of this stuff several times a year. As a matter of fact, the whole story of Egypt you have to read twice a day.
None of the Egyptians that were that after seeing all the plagues, none of them became righteous.
Yes, actually no, not righteous, but they became the Erev Rav.
Right.
It says here in verse Lamed Zayin, which is 37, the children of Israel sojourned from Ramses to Sukkot, about 600,000 men on foot. It's referring to men between the age of 20 and 60. About 600,000 men on foot, aside from the children. Also the mixed multitude. Mixed multitude, the Gam Erev Rav. Also a mixed multitude went up with them. And a flock of cattle, very much livestock. So Moshe came to Hashem and said, listen, there's a bunch of Egyptians that want to convert. Hashem said, no, you shouldn't take them. He says, no, but they saw the plagues, they believe in you. Do what you want, you have free choice. That's the Erev Rav. And we're still suffering from this Erev Rav until today. Now, the whole issue of the nation of Israel taking this money was actually went to court a few times throughout history. About 2,000 years ago, or less, or more, the Egyptians came to Alexander the Great, Alexander Magdon, and told him, listen, look, it says it in their book that they stole our money. Tell the Jews to give us back our money. So the Jew says, where'd you get that? Where do you think that we stole your money? He says, oh, look, it says it in your book. He goes, yes, but it also says in the same book that that we were slaves. So give us the wages for 210 years of being slaves. So they ran away. This actually came back to court about 10, 15 years ago. The Egyptians came back again and asked for the money, and the same thing happened. But there was also an argument between... and that also went to Alexander the Great, Alexander Magdon, where these Karaites are people that believe just in the written Torah, but not in the oral Torah. And they came to him and they said, listen, this religion is nonsense, they're adding stuff. And it said we should have a debate. Whoever wins, the other one has to leave. So the Jews sent one of their people, and he says, and everybody that came into the castle had to take off their shoes. But the Jew comes in with one shoe in his hand. So Alexander asks him, he sees it, it's weird, he's holding a shoe in his hand. So the Karaite, Rasha, says, look, Your Honor, doesn't even respect you to leave his shoes by the door. He's holding his shoe. You see it? He says, no, so we ask him, what are you doing? How come you have your shoe? He goes, to be honest, Your Honor, I'm scared he's going to steal it. This Karaite. I'm not, you and your people, I trust all of you. But him, this Karaite, he's a Rasha. I know he's a thief. His people are known to be thieves. They steal shoes. And he says to him, oh yeah? And the Karaite starts screaming, no, what thieves? We didn't do anything. What are you talking about? What proof do you have? So Alexander asks him, okay, what's your source? He goes, well, my source says that when Moshe went up to Mount Sinai, Hashem told him, listen, before you get to Mount Sinai, you're pure and everything, you have to go to the mikveh. So Moshe went to the mikveh, and, he left his clothes out there, and as soon as he came back, his clothes were gone because the Karaites stole it. So the Karaites screamed, liar, liar, liar. And the king says, why liar? He goes, the carrots weren't even around back then. So Jew says, see, I already won the argument. Baruch Adonai leolam, amen v'amen.